Hello everyone and welcome back today. I hope you're doing well. And today's video is going to be a bit more of a personal video, and it's something I've wanted to do ever since I started the YouTube page, and it's my love of film and kind of where that started and where it's morphed into. So for me, growing up, I didn't really kind of have much like of a social life outside of school and home, because my younger brother Jack is autistic, and so I was usually be helping my parents help around the house, and through that I kind of needed an outlet. And my parents, being just massive film fans, they would, buy lots of VHSs and things like that. So we would just sit down and watch. We owned most of the Disney catalogue, still do, just in a different format now, or formats. And yeah, it was really kind of cool. Like, my first film experience in the cinema was the Flintstones, the first one with John Goodman. And I just remember like walking out going, wow, what was that? When I was growing up, like, me and my brother Sam, we would very much like have weekends where like he would see my nan, I would see my nan. So we would alternate, and it was through there like my dad like just showed me some stuff. I don't think he should have, but it was one of the first ones was Dracula, or one of the ones I remember is Dracula, because my dad had a Coffin box set for the VHS, and it had the book, it had the VHS, and it was beautiful, and I was just fascinated by it. So he was like, right, don't tell your mum, and we'll put it on. And he says, if you get scared, we'll turn it off, it's fine, don't worry. And he'd keep floating in and out, and I was sitting there with covers over my eyes, as Gary Oldman was just like climbing up walls and stuff, and I was like, and he asked me at the end, like, what did you think? And I was just like, I loved it, and he goes, but you were scared through it. I was like, yeah, but that's, and through that, and another experience I remember, which is really distinctly actually, is hiding behind the couch and we're watching Aliens, and my mum and dad are laughing. Like, I can always remember them laughing, and I'm just hiding behind. And then it's where they go into the power plant, and then they go into the nest, and then the chest burst that happens, and that was it. I ran out the room. It kind of all culminates when it was like Christmas, December 2002, kind of like my early memories of film, which is, for that Christmas I got a DVD TV combi, and I got Blade and Blade 2. And since then I've been collecting DVDs and been a film collector. So I'm now reaching nearly 20 years, so it's like, I know people who aren't even 20 years old, and it's like, fucking hell. It's just like, wow. But I always remember that because we all had to clamber into my room to watch them, and it was so much fun. It was a fiasco. It's like, should we watch Blade? Yeah, right, you got to get everyone in, all hooked up the TV, right, boom, put the disc in. Like, when my parents would go out and stuff, they'd pick up some of the early ones were Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Road to Perdition, Monty Python, The Meaning of Life, and it's that eclectic taste that I thank my parents for getting me into, because I remember my dad sitting me down one day, and he just said, Rich, just be open to everything. He now regrets saying that to me after seeing some of the stuff I've bought It's like now it's like, oh, you bought a load of old shit. I've just carried that through where it's like, even if it doesn't feel like it appeals to me, I'm probably going to watch it at some point. Just depends on the price, you know. Some important milestones for me would be the Star Wars VHS, which really acted as kind of my first insight into the film world. I always loved the introductions done by George Lucas and John Knoll and some of the other visual effects artists that were on board. And it was them talking about it that really got me excited to like, oh wow, I actually want to do like be a visual effects artist. I want to do that as a job. I got Fight Club, and Fight Club for me is a real definitive film in my journey of film, because it's the film that made me want to make films, like properly as a filmmaker, like as a director. That's what I thought at the time. And because I'd watched it round about 12, 13, maybe 14, I was writing at that time, but not like properly. I started writing scripts, I started just committing to it. And that all leads to kind of college and at university, where I actually was working, and I left work and I became a mature student, did a course up at university, and I would probably say my first year was my favourite year. And I've been listening to the movie Crip recently, and I know Adam Green usually asks the question of like, do you need to go to, or do you want to go to university or college or whatever in America? And the thing is like, even though by the end I really hated that experience, not the people, but the experience, I would say for me it was very beneficial, because I didn't know the kind of inner workings of what it does to make a film. Like, I didn't know how to communicate to people in emails and, like, you know, working within a team, because most of the stuff I'd made prior to that had been either me and Sam, like stuff we'd made on weekends, films like Killer Gaming Dude, Frankenfur. And just really interesting stuff. Like, we really kind of found a groove working together. You know, I needed stars. We were both the stars. I would write, direct, and I remember some of them are actually made on my mum's old JVC camcorder. So what we had to do was we had to edit in camera. So we would shoot, pause, turn the camera, and we'd mark it out in scripts where, you know, right, we're saying these amount of lines, then we turn the camera, then we do this. And it was such a great experience. It was so much fun. And then I made my final film at college, and if I'm still correct in this, I was the only one to have made a film, because we had 3 units, and basically we were the first year where they tried it, where they combined, so you didn't have to do music video, documentary and film. You could combine, like, your documentary could become your film or something, you know, you could do something. But I did all 3. I put a lot of time and effort into a film called The Fighter, which is me and Sam acting in it. And my dad's in it as well. And it's rough around the edges, I say. And I think it's still on YouTube. But it was a learning curve. It was a real learning curve, and the only reason that happened was because, you know, we were working in the final year with a brief for the council, so we had to do a information film called what was it? Rails, Roads and Rivers, and it was about the drinking and drugs on those kind of platforms. It was, you know, and we had to interview all these people, and that is still one of the best projects I ever worked on. You know, hearing the stories from like the police, paramedics, about going to these real life incidents and stuff. It took its toll after a while, but that was like, wow. And yeah, we had actors to kind of come in and try and help us do some of the reenactments and things like that, and they wouldn't do it. So I was like, right, well, I'm not. Like, I knew from my final film, I was like, right, I can trust you, trust you, trust you. And there was one day where we had to, obviously, because I was acting in the scene as well, we had a secondary camera guy, and he was a great mate of mine, Joe. He come in and shot that. While I was working, I made another film called Virus, which is about a guy coming home from a night out, and he's been bitten by a vampire, and that's available on YouTube as well. And yeah, that was a really cool film, because I went into that with like one shot. I was like, right, I know what shot I want to do, and which is, I hate in films where they do camera trickery, you know, where you have like a ghost in the mirror and it does a reversal and you see there's no one there. I fucking hate that, because it's you know, you're not really making a trick. So for me, I wanted to do a vampire from a window, what was it, a 3-story window, coming down to ground level in one shot, like no cuts, in the same shot, do that. So that was the initial premise, and then I constructed like a little story around that. And yeah, that is still one of the, like, that was just made on like a day off that I had, and I love that short so much, because it was like, when you see that shot, it pays off beautifully. And it was me working with a crew for the first time. I never worked with a crew, so it felt like I didn't have to produce it, I just was directing, and it was so much fun. So it was around my first year when Sam had kind of said to me, so I was right in the throes of my first year, and Sam had said, Rich, we're gearing up, we're making a film, can you help? And I was like, wow, okay, bud. So I'd just come off my first project, which was 1201, which is a great project and one of the best that I made at uni. And honestly, it was one of the most fun and just terrifying experiences, because we went to film in London as well. So it was like, oh my god. So it was like right out of the gate. But Sam sent me the script, and I was like, Envy. Oh, okay, right. And I knew about Envy, and I knew, especially with the early drafts, I knew where that was. And he sent it over, and he's like, right, mate, can you help? I said, right, cool. And he was like, right, well, I need some locations. Can you help me and do this and that? So I was able to try and get everything together for him that I could. And yeah, that was a very interesting shoot, because we were filming in a school, and yeah, it was crazy. We'd never had a location that big before. And yeah, and then to see that film once it was cut together, and what Sam's vision for the film was, it was like, whoa, okay, right, I get you now as a director. Because Sam had made sticky notes, and he'd made a few other things, but to see pure unadulterated him, it was just wow. And yeah, and then to then follow that film onto like Fright Fest and all the other places, it was kind of like, fuck, this is something special. Many people talk about, like, you don't get many of those kind of moments. The second year was definitely a lot easier, because I'd basically gone from that into a job again, and then gone back to uni, so I didn't really have any time off. And I went into there, and I was like, oh, right, cool, you know, we got to kind of create and make stuff. And in that year, I got to experiment with roles, so I was a DOP for the first time. I got to do sound. and I was just experimenting, and we made some really interesting projects, you know. That was really cool. And I ended the year as a producer, and then I had the summer of the third year off, and I had so much time, and I kind of got to unwind a little bit, and I was kind of like, do I want to do this, or what's going on? And I realised I just didn't like the uni format, because it was still basically like school. It really was just like school. And I find that a lot of the lecturers didn't get what where I was coming from. I still like the lecturers, but it was because of like the format. It was still an educational system, instead of like, right, go off, make your mistakes, come back to us and we'll help you with what we think is the way. It's like, no, you have to do it our way. And that I found in the third year was the big thing for me. And I really didn't enjoy that, because, and then I was going through my own kind of personal crises, and then at Christmas we kind of had the break, and then obviously there was some health issues with my dad that kind of formed the back half of the second year. But I got to make a film that I'm really passionate about, which is Help. And it's about male mental health, and I really, I wouldn't say enjoyed making that film, but it was the most cathartic experience I've ever had, and especially working with that footage day in, day out. But it, you know, and that's available on YouTube as well. And yeah, it was a film that I'd love to do like a big discussion about it. So after that, I had a bit of a time out. I had a bit of a think, and obviously through this time I'd been writing projects for Sam or myself to direct, and different kind of ideas had been percolating, and I then just took it upon myself. I had a sit down with Sam and just said, look mate, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna dedicate myself to writing. That's what I want to do. And yeah, I had the script for The Night We Met. He was really excited about that. He wanted to make that. I was like, mate, go for it. You know, I think you'll do a better job than me. Brilliant. Like, let's do this. And then we started that collaboration, and it's led me here to today. So sorry for the really long video. And yeah, it's kind of my truncated film history, you know, and I'm really excited about The Night We Met. Like, it's a film that, it's a lot of what I feel and I'm very passionate about in terms of story, character, and how films can be constructed, and how they can make you feel. And it's a lot of Sam's kind of emotion, and how he feels about relationships and things, and it's like the perfect amalgamation of both of us. And I'm really excited for people to watch this film, and we are currently in the midst of a Indiegogo campaign. If you are able to just go over and give it a look, and if you're able to share it or even back us, thank you. We truly appreciate that. I find the films that I watched when I was younger have really influenced me as an older kind of writer or creative, in the sense that I'm really drawn to flawed characters, or where you get to have a character explore an entire range of emotions. And a lot of films don't really do that. And especially when I discovered cult and exploitation, I really love interesting premises. I think when you can take something as simple as like a horror film, but then you can keep changing that. Like Insidious. Insidious for me is one of those films that is like a Rubik's Cube, where you've got a haunted house, a possession film, and then you've got a proper ghost story at the end. I love films like that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.